Hello, welcome to the 19th day of August 2025. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is a video exercise that I do each and every day. I'm going to make sure my mosquito coil is burning because I just saw a mosquito fly by. I got my little burner here, my little Cultivate buta. Put him right here. The mosquitoes seem to be getting a little more aggressive as summer starts to wane. Anyway, back on track. This is something that I do every day to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with any noteworthy challenges or opportunities that I met. I go over the objectives of my creed, one of the principles, and I plan for the coming day. But first, a big howdy to new subscribers to the channel. I'm glad you're here. This video is a journal entry that I do every day at the same time. So if you see the videos in my feed now that you're subscribed, and you see my face standing with this background, and the title says The Good Life, that's what this is. This isn't a video necessarily about Japan. It's a video that I do for myself to improve myself. You're welcome to watch and leave comments if you like, but I don't read or respond to comments until I'm done. I also do talk about sensitive subjects on this video, including death, so be forewarned if that's a sensitive subject for you, and other topics. I'm at liberty to talk about anything that I want, given that this is my own journal entry. I also want to say a huge thank you to my supporters, those who watch my videos, those who are members on YouTube, and those who are my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. Your support means a lot to me, and it's increasingly important to me now, given some events that are unfolding now that I'll talk about in just a second. With that, let's move on to the last 24 hours. The one note, I almost forgot, time to go over the temperature and humidity for the day. At 5:30, about 5:33 a.m. right now, it is just under 25 degrees and 90% humidity. So just leaving the green zone on temperature and way the heck up in the red zone for humidity. So 25 degrees and 90, let's say 87% humidity. And it looks like the very little cloud cover today, so as soon as that sun comes over the horizon there, it's going to be a scorcher. Let's get this going so that I can try to get this under the wrap before the sun comes over the edge. I did go to radio exercise yesterday. I felt good. The gang there were concerned about me. Radio exercise, if you're new, is something that's done here in Japan in the morning. Groups of people get together in companies and neighborhoods and schools to exercise together. And here in the neighborhood where I live, here in the Valley of Tea, there's our local neighborhood group gets together right up there. I skipped it all last week because of the heat. The heat took too much out of me, but I went yesterday and it was good. All right, let's get on to my notes from yesterday. And there's only one line item here, and it was from the last 24 hours. And what I'm looking for when I have these notes is what happened that was extraordinary, where I either handled this either extraordinary in its own right and worth noting, or especially when it was something that I handled exceptionally well, or I handled exceptionally poorly, because I want to learn from both of those, do more of the former, and try to tune myself to do less of the latter. Yesterday's note was a little bit of all of that. It says 2008 all over again, and then in parentheses, handled well. And what that means is that yesterday, if you're aware, if you've been following these videos, and I have another series called Retiring in Japan, which is a daily upload of my experiences, recently retired 61-year-old American living in Japan with my 61-year-old Japanese wife and our grown daughter who lives on her own in Tokyo, documenting that experience. So if you've been following that, you know that I've been struggling with the freedom of retirement and trying to figure out what to do with myself. And I settled on work, and that meant resurrecting my old antique business that I had from 2003 until 2008 in the same community, operated in right here. That business failed with the 2007 and 2008 global financial crisis, which sopped up business and caused me to close my doors for good. I thought for good, at least until this year when I reopened business and started operating in the same community, doing the same things, selling the same stuff to largely the same people. And just like before, business was doing well. It took me a lot less time to get to the well part. I've been at it for maybe 2 or 3 months now, and the business is quite successful already. Doing very brisk sales, nicely profitable. It's good. Up until yesterday, it was a very good state of affairs. Uh, and then it all came to an end yesterday. Maybe not an end forever, but it sure did come to an end. I have a friend, his name is Jason. He runs Napa, Japan. He might see this video. I think he watches these sometimes. Hi, Jason. I hope you don't mind me saying your name, Jason. I probably should have thought about that before I did that. Anyway, cat's out of the bag. I look at Jason as kind of an online senpai because he's been doing this type of online operation out of Japan for a long time, very successfully. He has a website. I hope you don't mind me plugging your website, Napa Japan. And if you look at the words, you realize that's Japan backwards and forward, right? .com. And you can get all the kinds of great snacks, gift boxes, all kinds of great stuff over there. Anyway, Jason and I are friends over on the X platform, and he's been very kind to give me some pointers as I ramp up my business again, stuff that I didn't know about. And yesterday, even though I should have had my ear to the ground, I'm not much of a newsie. I really don't know what's going on in the world. Jason sent me an email to give me a heads up that on the 29th of this month, August, a new tariffs would be going into effect for the United States. It's really not the tariff itself. It's kind of a stopgap measure until the tariff goes into effect. Whereas all packages arriving into the United States from Japan, regardless of value and regardless of classification, merchandise or gift, will be levied an $80 plus. There might be another a $10 administrative fee on top of that. So we're looking at $80 to $90 fee, levied by the postman, who will hold your package hostage. And nope, not giving it to you. Give me 80 or 90 bucks. Okay, here's your $14.99 bag of crackers. I think I just illustrated the essential existential dilemma therein. So that goes into effect now. The thing is that I did a little research, and Jason very wisely suggested that I do my own research, and I did. Yesterday I took your advice, Jason, if you see this, and I researched it, and I learned that that rate goes into effect, this tariff goes into effect, let's just call it that, because it's not the tariff itself, it's a stopgap measure. Let me explain that, what I mean by that. The tariff is 15%, which is a little more, it's a lot more manageable, actually. It's doable. People like Tim, if Tim's watching this video over there in the UK, is like, 15%, we've been doing that with our value-added import duties over in the UK forever, right? I mean, you guys are used to it, right? But Americans aren't used to this. But because this executive order came so quickly in July, the U.S. Postal Service didn't have time to react. So without the time to implement the infrastructure of decision making and processes, they just said we'll levy a flat 80% duty plus the $10 $80 duty on all packages, gifts, merchandise, whatever value, plus I think up to like, so there's a certain value. You get above like a certain level, and then it goes into something else. Anyway, until February, that'll give them time to put in place the 15% apparatus. Then in February it switches to 15%, which is still problematic, quite problematic. In fact, for a little guy like me, because I sell items that are very low in price and a very low profit and a very low margin, right? I mean, 15%. I spend that. So anyway, so back on track. Thank you, Jason, if you see this. I appreciate the heads up. You saved me from. Basically, what that means is today I need to get all my remaining U.S. shipments out the door before noon. And I'm going to have to boost them all up because I'm a free shipping shop. I'm going to have to boost them all up to EMS shipment to get them there in time and slide under the American threshold slide into America before midnight on the 29th, and he's going to face into place because I don't want any of my customers to have a sudden shock of that happening. So what I did that also, after giving it a lot of thought yesterday, was I simply decided to discontinue business with the United States. So, sorry, I had to go into the configuration settings for my online venues, and I've got a very short list of countries where I don't do business, and I added my own country, America, to the list. Sorry, America, I can't do business with you anymore. So anyone in America that looks at my eBay store is going to find it's empty. And on my eBay store as well. What can I say? I mean, I can't think of a workaround. Otherwise, maybe if you can think of one and you want to suggest it to me, I'd love to hear it. But I mean, I sell the stuff I sell online to is mostly under $20. You know, it's under $15. It's $14.99. So if I sell a $14.99 bag of crackers with free shipping, can I expect my customers in America to then pay $80 or maybe even $90 to the postman to receive said package? I can't. That's going to result in very unhappy customers refusing to accept their orders. I'll be out the shipping that I paid to get the item to them, plus the purchase price of the item to them, and it's a bag of crackers, so I'm not going to ask them to return it. That bag of crackers is going to wind up in the trash at the post office. You know, it's a lose in every single way, so best just not to do business with the United States. Again, if anyone can think of a better way to deal with that, I'd love to hear it. Now, so why am I seemingly composed? Well, I would like to think that it's because of my creed, that it's helped me to recognize my true limits and my true hashtag limits and opportunities, to use reason to recognize what I can, come up with plans of action, and my readiness for death, hashtag readiness for death, which lead to a sense of balance and hashtag good emotional reactions. I think all of that stuff does play a part in this, but you know, I can't give my creed credit for this fully. The thing that contributes to the fact that I'm not going crazy right now, second time in a row that my business has basically been wiped out, because America was, you know, by far the biggest customer that I had, is simply the fact that this is a hobby business. This is not some, you know, unlike 2008 when I was supporting a family with a stay-at-home wife and a young kid in private school and paying rent and for an apartment and all that stuff. Now I'm a retired guy. My kid's grown. I own my house outright. None of our living expenses come from my business. It all comes from my retirement funds. This is just a hobby. So big deal. So, and I do feel greatly for those many, I can just think of, if I'm just using eBay alone, so many vendors that I know that I follow because I do research. I follow vendors. I look at the competition. I look at the landscape of other sellers, both those sellers who are operating from Japan like I am, selling antiques or merchandise overseas, or vendors who come to Japan and buy their items in bulk and put them in a shipping container and send those and then sell them from the United States to leverage the improved shipping rates that can occur in that methodology, because they have to pay the import duty too. Although paying $80 on a shipping container it seems a little more reasonable, at least until February, right? I feel for everybody. And that's just one platform. All the platforms where this is happening, I mean, this is across the board going to affect so many people. And if I was in a position where I was supporting a family, and I suddenly had to, you know, click the checkbox next to the United States to remove the United States from my list of countries, to add the United States, which is a better way to put it, to the list of countries where I do not wish to do business. If that was the case and I was still supporting a family, I'd be pretty desperate right now. I know what I did last time. I got out my resume and started riding my bicycle around to all the English language schools here in Shizuoka until I found someone who would take me in. That's what I had to do back then. things are different. People have options, whatever. I mean, there's lots of different things. And I wasn't, and I remain not a very imaginative person when it comes to solutions. I tend to knee-jerk things, you know. Like yesterday, I gave it thought for an hour, maybe 5 minutes, and I knee-jerk decided to close the store to the United States. Yeah. Good news is I can reopen it like that as well. So what am I going to do about all this? Wait, before I talk about that, let's look at the note again. 2008 all over again, and then the important part is their parenthetical note here, handled well. Well, of course I handled it well. There's no sort of Damocles hanging over my shoulder, right? This is nothing more than finding out that you're what is a good analogy for it? The radio exercise group is going to move to a different neighborhood, or they're shutting down. Big deal. I mean, it is a big deal, and I don't mean to sound so candid or flippant, especially given what I said just a moment ago about there's many, many people out there who will be desperately affected by this. Right? I'm putting my own situation in a little petri dish and looking directly at that. Right? So if it sounds like I'm being nonchalant about this, it's only within the context of my own circumstance. That's it. I've been around the block on the other side when I'm supporting my family with this. I know what that's like. I think I gave enough of a disclaimer for that. For myself, I'm not. I can't point at my book. I have to point at my circumstance now and say, yeah, the reason you handled it well, Kurt, is because it doesn't affect you very much. So that's true. So how does it affect me? Because remember, this is my own personal journal. So, well, I'm back kind of where I was before, but not quite. It's a boon and a bust at the same time. It's a bust because I'm kind of losing my business a little bit, at least the active engagement side, because it was the making sales where you get the hits of endorphins, right? That's the fun part. Plus, you remember, if you've watched enough of these, you know that I'm still paying off my daughter's college loan. And part of the reason I was doing this business, I chose to do a business to keep my busy in retirement, is that this will allow me, if the business is successful, it allows me to continue servicing my daughter's college debt without dipping into my retirement funds anymore. So that's one impact, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to dip into my retirement funds to pay my daughter's college. So, here's what I got in mind. Let me just boil it down. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing now in the mornings. So in the morning, I'm going to wake up. I'll do everything like I'm doing here. This won't change. I'll go do radio exercise. I'll come back. And until lunchtime, I will list one antique item and I will list one inventory item. If I get a couple of sales, then in the afternoon, I'll do sales. I'll do shipping, right? I don't expect to have a lot of sales because my number one customer, the United States, is no longer on the list. But I do get sales elsewhere, I guess. I sell to the UK, I sell to Australia, I sell to New Zealand, I sell to Canada. That's about it. These large English-speaking corners of the world seem to be pretty reliable customers. Nothing like the United States. I mean, the United States is like a great giant steam engine of business. I've just walled off like Pose, the telltale heart, America's peeking over the walls and putting the last bricks in place. Goodbye, America. I'll see you in 6 months. Well, there's that too, right? Okay, so if I can keep the engine going of adding items to the store, and I will continue to add them to both venues, eBay and Fourth Wall. And then let's say, for example, that the Trump administration decides these tariffs weren't such a good idea after all and removes them. Well, then I can go ahead and go back into that little configuration panel and unselect United States and hit save, and we're back in business. It's easy as that. Or if it goes to 15%, as it will in February, I can do the same thing. And then what I'll simply do at that point is, as merchants all around will likely do, well, it depends. How does it work? If it's a 15% tariff, no, I won't increase my prices. I won't, because what I'll simply have to do is I'll update my terms of service and say, American customers expect to give the postman 15% when you get your shipment, and they'll just have to get used to it. Just as Tim, and I don't think Tim will mind if I do this. Tim, you were my first eye opener for this. Tim bought an item from me, and I shipped it to him, and I was shocked because Tim, when I talk all the time, and Tim was like, telling me about I think because it's a VAT, right? A value-added tax that the people in the UK pay, that you had to pay, which shocked me. I mean, I never had, I knew that there's a giant hornet right there. I knew that such things existed, but I'd never had a customer, like in the process of the transaction, tell me, I got your shipment today, and Tim wasn't telling me it to make me feel guilty or anything like that. It was just kind of part and parcel of the conversation, and I paid my VAT tax, and it was like some, like ridiculous amount. And I was like, holy crap, And Tim went on to explain to me that it's been in place in the UK for so long that buyers in the UK they just accept it. I mean, maybe you don't accept it. They don't surprise them. See, what's going to happen in the United States, Americans aren't used to this type of thing. They're going to get their package, and the postman's going to ask for 15% or 80 or 90 bucks. And the American, their initial reaction, because they're not used to it, is they're going to get pissed off, and they're going to refuse to take the package. They're going to send me a nasty email. They're going to give me a bad rating on eBay. You see where this is headed. It's going to take a while for the American to get used to that. So I have to soften the blow before I begin selling on eBay again, so that I can avoid that blowback, those repercussions on my own store and reputation. Tim provided that. I also had last week I had an offer. I do accept offers on the antique items. And I got an offer from someone, and it was kind of a low offer. Usually I'll take reasonable offers on the antique items. And it was kind of a low offer, and I refused it because it was kind of low. And the person wrote to me, a very nice person. They were in the UK, and they wrote to me and they said, yeah, I realize that's kind of a low offer, but they said, I just don't have enough for the value-added tax, the VAT. And I was like, another instance of someone from a country that is used to this type of thing factoring it into their thinking, right? And they weren't blaming me, the seller, for the VAT. They were simply saying that, I really want to get this thing, Kurt, but, I have to pay this much to you, and then I have to pay, this much to, what do you call Uncle Sam in the UK, right? To Dr. Johnson. Okay, well, I'm wandering now. Let me go back to explaining my plan. So my plan is mornings are not going to change. Wake up, make these videos, do a retiring in Japan, upload, exercise team, come back, have breakfast, and then I'll list an antique item. Here's the antique I'm going to list today. It's a little hook that would have been used back in the day to carry a Chochin lantern running through the streets of old Japan with this little hook with a lantern. It's like a flashlight. It's a old piece of bamboo hook. Isn't that cool? Imagine you could use that to hook a plant on or something. Anyway, that's what I'm going to list now. In an inventory item, both venues. And then in the afternoon, I'm going to be free. If I have sales the previous day, then I'll ship those sales that day. Remember, my goal in operation is just to ship one shipment a day. That's all I want, is just one order a day. That's all I need to make this a going venture. And I don't even need that. But I have to pay fees, right? So I pay fees. I pay eBay fees to maintain my store. So, and I pay other fees for the software that I use, QuickBooks for the, TurboTax. And so one sale a day will, keep the lights on, as they say. But, so I said it's a boom and a bust. It's a bust in terms of my planned action for my business, but it's a boon in terms of what to do with my time in the afternoons, right? Eric Surf 6, a quite successful J-vlogger from the day, left me a message last week on on Facebook saying, Kurt, because he sees how much time I'm spending doing my business. He says, when are you going to get back out into the mountains and, take us on 2 hour. I think he actually said that. Take us on your 2 hour hikes in the woods. Good idea, Eric. Maybe that's what I could do in the afternoons. Maybe especially now that the weather's going to start cooling soon. Work on my business in the morning, go out in the afternoon, and then fold and wrap those adventures into retiring in Japan, right? Open the morning with a daily retiring in Japan video with the snippets of this stuff, and then finish every day's episode with an afternoon adventure with Rudy. That's an idea. I like that idea. I like that idea a lot. So I want to say a big thank you to Jason for the heads up. You saved my customers from a big surprise, and you saved me also from that. And a big a thank you to Eric as well for over at Eric Surf 6 channel for planting a nice seed. A seed that had been there but needed a little watering maybe and a little encouragement to germinate and a little sunshine. And Eric's kind of a sunshiny guy. Okay, let's go over my creed. My creed consists of 8 objectives: to be always ready to die, to make good and effective use of time, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, to cultivate good emotional reactions, to perform good actions, to recognize my true limits and true opportunities, to do just one thing at a time and do the thing slowly and deliberately and carefully, and to keep my balance. Today I'm going to read, I believe, the principle of fun, which is I think it's like the second to last, if not the last principle in my book. I added it because I realized that, no, it's not that. No, it's not. It's the second to last, but that's not the one. No, yeah, it is next. I'm going to talk about that. So I'll read the principle of fun on page 273, principle number 34, second to last. I added this in when I realized that my book, I added this in late after I had written the book, realizing that my book had no frivolity or frolic in it, no part or parcel of enjoying life or having a good time. So I decided it needed a little shot of that, a little booster. The principle of fun, sub-principles, hope and retrospect. And a quote from the Bible. This is from Ecclesiastes 8:15. Then I commended mirth, because a man hath no better thing under the sun. My own words. Next are my own words. Along the way, we might become overly focused on the pursuit of living well, such that we neglect to enjoy the fact that we are alive. Be gay, be jolly, have fun, find friendship and community and family and things to do which might make us smile and laugh and sleep well and hard and with a smile on your face. Live such a life that the mortician must ask your heirs if they wish him to wipe the death mask grin from your face before the funeral service begins. Bring to your death a good and happy life as a warm, fading spark of light and life glowing down into the seemingly infinite sea of darkness and gloom. As for today, I'm going to forge a new day. I already have my plan ahead of me. First thing I'm going to do is take care of, I'll finish this, I'll list this item, I'll do the photography before the sun comes up, then I'll go up and do radio exercise, write my listings, walk the dog, have breakfast, then go to the post office and get all these shipments out before noon, and then come in for the rest of the day. And also I need to send a notice out on my social media to tell everybody that shipment to the United States is now over. Not that it really matters that much to anybody. It's not like I'm selling, necessities. Let's read comments. Hi, Michael. Hello, Tim. Good morning. Weather check on the UK at 9:35, 17.3 C and 77 degrees. Oh, that's pretty nice. Pretty nice. Heavy clouds today. Lucky you. I hope it's cooling down over there for you. Ray chiming in from Washington State, saying hi to everybody, and he's got 22 C and 54. Beautiful weather there, Tim. Wow. Sorry, Ray. Tim says hi to Ray. Mike says, just saw your Unpacking Japan interview. Very interesting. I've been in Aichi Prefecture since 1991. I'll be 72 in December, and I retired from April of 2024. Congratulations. That's a long adventure in Japan. My goodness. And congratulations on your retirement. But welcome to the club. Tim's retired. Another commenter here. Myself, as you know, Evelyn, and also a fellow who I haven't seen him chime in just yet. He's usually here. That would be Robert. who goes by the name of Believe in Yourself. You're in good company here, Mike, and it's good to see you. Welcome. I do this every day. You're welcome to join us anytime you like. Ray says, you need to make friends with someone who works on base, APO shipping. It's the same as if shipping to or from the U.S. Kidding, person can get in real trouble. Thanks for the observation, Ray. Yeah. Tim says, plus to add on the tax theme, with UK leaving the EU a few years back, we have to pay tax on anything imported from Europe over a certain value. Oh, really? They're making things rough. Hey, there's Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. Ray says, had wondered how you were managing the shipping to the U.S. Well, now I know. It's always been crazy expensive. Well, what I was doing was, there's this thing, and I can't pronounce it right. It's like de minimis or something like that. There's this like de minimis clause in the U.S. thing that says if it's under $800, it's immune from, any type of duty, right? But that's what the administration has removed. So the de minimis worldwide has been removed. So that's what brings all these factors into play. So I didn't have to deal with it until now. Evelyn says, what a mess. Sorry for both you and your loyal customers. Thank you, Evelyn. Ray says, for your store, you could turn more into a broker for people in the U.S. Things like finding a specific year, model, GTR, and brokering the deal to be shipped would make $500 here and there. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, Ray. That's interesting. Ray says, doesn't have to be cars, was just using as an example of something that would be worth the shipping cost. That's a good point. If you can get it to the point that the 13% is just, another relatively manageable line item, right? Relative to a $14.99 bag of crackers. Tim says, our government love to have their cut and tax on everything and anything. The U.S. tariffs have hit UK businesses hard here, especially the small-time ones. Hi. Hi, Mike. Oh, Mike's taken off. Hi. You have a great day as well, Mike. Thank you. Tim says, a lot cooler today, so thought some work in the garden today and picked up another bee sting, but thought it was less, well, at least it wasn't a hornet. I picked the bee up by mistake. Oh, wow. The hornets here are starting to die. I found 2 dead ones yesterday, which is when they, it's early. It's too early for them to start dying, but that's when they start to get mean. Gotta watch out. All right, I've reached the end of comments. I'm going to sign off for now and get the photos out of the way before the sun peaks over the horizon and spoils the party. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, everybody. Wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. Bye-bye.